Now just move this over, move this down.
And we're welding, Brian.
Freddie Mercury. So the legal system has a problem, and I'm here to enlist your help. How many lawyers we got out there? Any? None? Okay, I'm going to completely change the presentation now because it's not a mixed crowd. Now we're just talking about people who are going to be helping lawyers. The legal system is broken. Now that I know there's no lawyers, we can talk about the dirty side of this problem. It's very broken. This presentation is going to cover aspects of it that I need your help with. And what I need from you all is to be experts, to go out and become experts in your fields, in your specialties, so that you can help the legal system because it's got problems right now. I am not a lawyer, however. I can make a legal statement that says everybody in this room and everybody in the country and everybody in the world is entitled to adequate legal representation. Part of what that entails is having an expert when you need an expert. And the problem that we're seeing with the legal system right now is that there's not enough experts. Not only that, but it's one of those cases where they don't even know what they don't know. So I'm in the room with these lawyers, and I'm acting as an expert in my field, and there's nobody else in the room that's an expert for the other side. So the settlements are very lopsided. To me, that is unfair, and that's why I'm giving this talk, because I want to encourage more people to do it, and I was really hoping that we'd have some lawyers in here so that they could take it back to their people and do presentations about how they need more expert witnesses. So if you know any lawyers, let them know.
Advice for you.
This is a professional convention, sir?
Chug it.
No.
No. Go ahead.
No.
Just sip it. Just put it in your mouth. Jesus. Can't get anybody to do anything today.
I came down here to do a professional presentation, and I get iced. This.
Wait till I give you your other present.
Oh, my revenge, sir. Yeah. Okay. So, changes opportunity to... I can't wander. We need magic cameras, like drone cameras, that can track me as I wander back and forth because it's killing me not to pace. I like to talk and pace. All right. Calm. So, change is opportunity disguised as pain. We need to change the legal system. And systems are resistant to change, which is where the pain comes in. But we're going to talk about it, get through it, and help them become a better legal system for all of our benefit. So why am I qualified to talk about any of this stuff? I own and operate Liticode. We've been doing this for 10 years now. And before that, I worked for companies and I did legal expert work on their behalf. And then I did stuff on the side. So I've been doing this all told, electronic evidence, forensics, garbage like that, for about, oh God, I'm old, 35 years. It started in the Air Force. Woohoo, Air Force. There was a legendary hacker, the Hanover hacker. If you ever read the book The Cuckoo's Egg, if you look at the systems map in the back, it says ramstein.af.mil. That was us. He was in my system. I feel bad, but that was the golden age of hacking when things like that were kind of normal. So I've been doing this for a long time. I've built IP stacks in Unix, written self-modifying expert systems code, blah, 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 medical diagnostics. I know a lot about medical systems, which is my specialty. This is me. I have alphabet soup stuff here, and that's not all of it. That's just the stuff I felt like listing. That's me over there if you want to get in contact with me at any point. I'm also on LinkedIn, of course, blah, 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 go Terps. All right, so where we are now in terms of criminal prosecution and civil litigation is there's not enough expert interaction, as I said, and it's altering case outcomes. And if that's your mom, you really want these cases to settle properly, especially since I work medical malpractice. Maybe I'm a little bit more angry about it than some of the commercial people, but I imagine that there's criminal people Well, I know there's criminal people getting railroaded because they don't have access to adequate representation. Let me get a guess on who's getting railroaded on the criminal side from anybody. It's a class of people, minorities, specifically poor minorities, people who can't afford representation. Because if you can buy the services, you can get the services. But the public defender doesn't... Getting angry, sorry. The public defender is interested in pushing cases through because the system is overloaded. So he's not going to go, or she's not going to go to any trouble whatsoever that they don't have to. And if the people getting railroaded aren't smart enough to go, hey, I deserve better representation, because they don't even know to ask, then bad things happen. And that's where we are. The system as it currently works favors the state in criminal proceedings vastly more so than the plaintiffs. Anybody trying to defend against electronic evidence charges, specifically poor people, is looking at an uphill battle. Now, on the criminal side of things, and I'm talking from experience here, most of these people are bad, and the system works the way that it should. And this isn't a massively publicized problem, because 99% of the time the system is working exactly the way it's supposed to. They go to jail. But then there's that 1%. And that's too many. On the civil side, it's exactly the opposite. Money buys you everything. So here we have an example of the civil side. This is Miss Keto, which is a great diet, by the way, but a whole different topic altogether. In civil litigation, electronic evidence, the advantage goes to the people with the most money. So this poor woman had to fight uphill for how many, I don't know how many years, because the opposition, sorry, I touched something. The opposition had more money and power. She eventually won thanks to the IJ, Institute for Justice, good place to send money if you have extra. And on the civil side here, you see less one-sided representation, but you see poor representation. If it's two companies fighting each other, you get two experts battling each other, and it's just silly. They're just trying to waste each other's company's money. It's a bad situation. There's a solution there too. But I spend the vast majority of my time on the civil litigation side. And the fact that, again, poor people or poorer people sometimes get sued by rich big companies, or sometimes need to sue rich big companies. For example, if your car explodes while you're driving it, they don't have adequate representation. If they can get involved in a class action lawsuit, that's great. There are ways that they get better served, but the majority of cases out there do not have adequate representation. But money changes everything. You wouldn't believe that's the same guy, would you? That's Bezos, if you don't recognize him. So when Apple's fighting Amazon, everything's good. The money flows, the lawyers are happy, tons of stuff. The only people who pay the price for that idiocy of the battle of experts is you and me, because our Amazon Prime costs go up the next year. So there is an effect even when the big companies are doing this badly, but I'm far more concerned about the individual than I am about the companies doing this stuff. So even when defendants can afford the experts, a lot of times they're simply not called. And this is what I'm seeing in the medical malpractice when I'm engaged with these lawyers, is that, as I mentioned, I'm the only person in the room that knows what's going on. And I'm only working for one side, so why isn't there somebody else on the other side? And it's not like I want to make my job harder, but the reality is that my job needs to be harder. I shouldn't be allowed to say or not say anything I want to my lawyer and have him carry that through in the case when the facts are slightly different. I don't have to publicly disclose everything I find. It's a legal proceeding. Everything goes to the lawyer. So if I find the smoking gun that the other side would really like to have, they're not going to find out about it because nobody has to tell them. Now, if there was an expert on their side going, hey, how come there's this gap in the log files about when the doctor was accessing the chart? Then that would be a good question to ask. And see, these cables are going to kill me. The lawyers, some of them know to ask, some of them don't know to ask. But they're not nerds, right? They're not computer geeks. So even if they do know to ask, they still might not get the answer that they need because my team is going to frame answers in a certain way for our advantage. The legal system is set up as a system, as a game. It's any game theory people in here? No? Cool thing to be an expert in. I'm not, but it would be fun. They want to win at any cost. That's their job, representing you, is to win at any cost. And the other side's job is to not win at any cost. Wait, that didn't make sense. To beat them at any cost. But again, there's only one expert in the room. So who's going to win? We are, of course. I don't think I've ever lost a case. I mean, they're not my cases, they're the lawyers' cases, but I don't think any case that I've ever worked on with evidence has ever gone bad, and clients keep coming back and telling me that I'm saving them tons of money. I mean, we're talking like zeros on top of settlements here. So there's a lot of money involved, but that's not the important part. The important part is that there's somebody else on the other side who's not getting it, that maybe should. And the problem with social systems and the legal system, it's called a system for a reason, is that they are resistant to change, inherently resistant. Systems theory is really cool if you want to study some interesting stuff. But the concept of judges who are all powerful in their courtroom and lawyers who need to please the judge to do their job, and this is literally like a feudal system. If a lawyer is trying a case and the judge does not like the lawyer, that lawyer is going to suffer. They're going to have problems trying their case. They're going to be at a significant disadvantage. So they all want to keep the judge happy. When the judge says, I don't want to see electronic evidence because I don't like computers, and they go along with it, that is a huge disservice, injustice. And it happens. Now, judges who don't like computers or don't want to tolerate that stuff are gradually aging out of the system. They don't really have a choice, but they're still out there. And the lawyers won't fight them on it because they have no choice. It's the way the system works in certain cities. You can't get these judges out. You can't go around them. It's a disadvantage. So that's part of the problem with the system. And then the lawyers want to do things in a certain way, and they don't want to change how they do those things. Your job as an expert is to help advise on strategy and tactics. They may want to do certain things with log files and attack the case in a certain way, and you're over here going, yeah, but this computer over here has an application on it that really just makes your case for you. And they're like, I don't want to see that. That's a resistance that you come across. And there's good reasons for it. The legal system is founded on the concept of case law, precedents. We don't want to be reinventing law every time we have to go to court. So there's this wonderful ball of history that we have to deal with every time. And that sets these people up, judges and lawyers, for a very narrow concept of how things get done. And then we're technology, and we stroll into the room with our propeller caps, and we're like, hey, we got all this really cool new stuff. And they're like, no. We don't want to see this stuff. This is not how we do business. The legal system is going to go through a vast upheaval in the next 20 years. It's a great place to be if you want to make some money, because wherever there is upheaval and technology, there is a huge opportunity. They don't know it yet. Don't don't bring this one up to them, but they're all getting replaced with computers because computers and expert systems are going to just destroy the legal system. Who better to try law, which is rules, than an expert system that runs on rules? Maybe we'll have an observer or something so that we can keep track of the computer and make sure that it's not running rampant. But the whole legal system is going to just get destroyed in the next 20 years.
So you're saying we probably better get our money while we can?
Do we have a lawyer in the room now?
No, sir. I'm just...
Oh, yes. I don't know how that would translate to get your money now. But you mean as an expert?
Pardon me?
As an expert?
Yes.
No, because we'll still have work after it's done. Even when the judge is a computer. Oh, well, that's a shame. Have you tried keto? I love steak, man. Steak. I love steak. Carnivore. But anyways, yeah, we're going to be here because technology keeps changing. No matter how fast this stuff evolves, there's always going to be a need for somebody to explain it. Even if we have to explain it to the systems by building additional rules to put into the system. So whatever you're good at, whether it's pen testing, writing code, writing device drivers, building hardware, there's going to be a need for knowledge in there that can translate into the legal system. And the irony about that whole topic is that the thing moves so glacially that they're not going to see it coming. There's little wrinkles of it showing up now and again, but it's going to be almost like a snap when it happens. Unless the government does something silly. When does that happen? Never. Sorry, it doesn't all fit on the screen. So we can fix this complexity issue by being experts in our field. It has to happen because the lawyers sure don't understand it. They have no idea what the buttons do. I mean, you wouldn't believe how often I get paid to move columns in a spreadsheet, which, I went to school for 4 years and I mean, drag and drop. Ooh, that was difficult. It's crazy. So, Counsel's not here. This will go fast. I am not a lawyer, but you are not a computer scientist. We need more lawyers calling on experts, but they're not here for me to talk to or get yelled at. So, skipping this. The good news is we're going to get out early now. So you would think that this is kind of a self-serving claim if you were an expert, because we charge them money for our services. Not cheap money either. It's a lot. I make more than most of the lawyers that I work with. Yay. Why? Because there's not enough of us. I can charge ridiculous amounts of money because there's nobody else there. Come on in. There's plenty of work. We need more people. And there's never going to be a shortage because there's so much tech and litigation just keeps increasing until we get to the automated future where everything is rosy. We'll still need them then, but there won't be the vast opportunity that there is now. Come on in. And we don't want to discourage them from using us by talking about how much money we're going to make, even though I really like that. Because we're not that expensive. The thing is, there's so much work that any single case may only be $2,000. That's what it costs to have us come in and evaluate a single case. Like, instead of a free consultation, you give us a retainer, we'll come in and talk to you and find out what's going on. Most of them you get to dismiss because there's nothing there. They don't have anything to work with, but now they know. And then the one time that you walk in and you're like, oh, you've got a big problem here, then that ends up being worth everybody's time and money. But it doesn't cost a lot to find out if you need an expert. That's my point. And if you do need an expert, price is no object because you really need an expert now, which brings us full circle back to, what about poor people? We're getting there. So what we do, in a nutshell, it's just killing me not wandering. We settle cases for better outcomes. We tack on zeros to their settlements, or we take off zeros. We settle them faster. Unless it's Apple and Microsoft. Those guys they're trying to get lawyers promotions, and it's a horrible situation, and it ends up costing us money, but there's nothing we can do about it. Not right now. But this is what we do in a nutshell. Either the evidence is there and our time is worth their money, or it's not, and we all need to get on with the next case. We're not there to waste money. We're not there to waste time. There are people who will try. I'm sure. Who's heard of pen testers that can run Nessus and charge a stupid amount of money for it? Oh, you've been pen tested. No, you haven't. I ran Nessus. It still says Nessus on the report. What is this? We have the same problem in the expert field to a greater or lesser extent. There are shysters in every field. Wherever you have a system, you will find a greater concentration of people who are lying to make money. I don't know what it is. There's probably something in system theory that explains it. But they're out there. We need to displace those people, and I don't want any of you to be one of those people, but they're really fun to come up against in court. I inherit a lot of cases. They have a case, they have an expert, they don't like what they hear, so they call me, and then you look down the rate chart and you're like, you took it to somebody else first and then brought it to me to fix it. Yes, that rate. And you wouldn't believe the garbage that I come across. Forensics cases where they sent the evidence to a former FBI agent who is now a forensics investigator and didn't know that you can't open the MacBook up before you image it, or you can, depending on which version it is, because Macs are complicated. But anyways, this nitwit opened up the Mac while it was powered on, while it was turned on, because he didn't know what he was looking at. He didn't even understand what he was dealing with. When you turn on a Mac, and it's been sitting for, let's go with 31 days. Do I have any Apple OS people in here? What happens after 30 days on Apple OS? Let's assume everything's cool. The system comes up as normal. All of the logs rotate. And the Apple file system is just loads of fun to try and recover fragments from. So this guy basically trashed the evidence, like beyond repair. Too bad. That was a fun legal case, but now it's gone. Sat on it for 3 weeks, in addition to the 1 month that it took him to figure out that, oh, it's a Mac and it's powered on and I have no idea what I'm doing. Didn't even know he'd trashed it before we ended up getting it. We don't need those people in here, and other people don't need. If that was my mom's case and he trashed the evidence, we'd have a talk person to person, because that's not the kind of stuff that we need. At the very least, there should be a lawsuit there, right? Somebody should have sued that guy. So we don't need the Three Little Pigs expert witness system. Courts are the arbitrator of justice. We rely on them to do the right thing. Right now, we can't rely on them entirely because they don't have all of the resources that they need. There's an easy way to figure out if there is a resource problem with the legal case that you're looking at. If there's an expert on one side of the table, is there an expert on the other side of the table? It's like a chemical equation or math. It should balance out. There should be experts on both sides. Or, and this is my recommendation to the legal system, to keep costs down, use a friend of the court. The court, the judge, can contract with an expert to do the exact same thing that the lawyers do on behalf of the court, to explain technology, to do technology things, even to do analysis and presentation. as long as justice is being served and both sides are okay with it, why not save the money and just hire one expert? You're not going to be able to hide anything, but hey, this is justice, right? Why would you want to hide anything? So that probably won't happen in civil cases involving Microsoft and Apple, but it's perfectly acceptable to me for that to happen in the criminal justice system, where we've got one guy who cannot afford an expert and an attorney who does not care about an expert. I think getting an expert into that guy's court at any cost is probably better. And the public defender doesn't really care. I mean, the DA doesn't really care anyways, because it's criminal. It's either cut and dried criminal stuff or it's not. New evidence can be dealt with down the road. But anyways, friend of the court is a great thing, especially if the court doesn't trust the two experts in the room. Because, as I mentioned, the experts aren't talking to the judge. The experts are talking to the lawyers. And the lawyers are deciding what to say to the judge or the jury. And they may not say everything. I frequently bring material to the lawyer that never gets discussed. I frequently produce reports that never see the light of day, because that's the game. Friend of the court doesn't have that problem. But if there's only one guy, it's distinctly an unfair advantage. So if it's your mom, you want experts. This is the bleeding heart plea here. We need more experts. We need more involvement with the legal system on everybody's part in technology, because they don't have it and it's causing trouble. Everybody deserves access. That's the foundation of some of our law, is that everybody deserves access to adequate legal representation. Well, that's not just a lawyer. I mean, we have a constitutional amendment, I believe, that says you're entitled to representation. Any Constitution people? I don't work that part, so I don't. Anyways, we've got laws that say you're entitled to a lawyer. We didn't say a good one. We said you get a lawyer. He's going to be adequate. Well, by the same reasoning, since expert witness and facts and technology and all of this may be part of the case, if it is part of the case, that's part of your representation. And if you're not getting it, you're not being represented right. Oops. The thing is that technology is hard. And the other downside that we see with lawyers in representation is that they think they know more than they do. And this is getting them in trouble when I'm on the other side of the table, because I'm more than happy to dissuade them of their expertise. In fact, that's one of the high points of my career. Every time I get to go into a deposition or a court and I get to correct a lawyer, that's fun. I kind of already covered this. So we find out things that they don't want found out. Yeah, we talked about that. Some of the things that have come up in cases that I've worked on are criminal proceedings. They got charged with something. They were going to go away for, say, 2 years. Their family didn't want them to go away for 2 years, so they called their lawyer, who called in an expert who looked at the evidence and went back to the lawyer and said, you need to take the 2 years because otherwise he's going away for 10. And they said, oh. And so that was good on them to stop that right there. But now, why didn't the DA find what I found? Because they're under the same problem. They have the same problem that the public defender has. They're trying to push too many cases through. That and the criminal, they don't really care. As long as the guy's going to jail and justice is essentially served, we don't need to make it perfect. He's going to jail. Good enough. If we suddenly discover that he's murdered somebody, that might be a different story. But for this, if you're this bad and all of a sudden we discover you're this bad, the system's still working. We're okay with that. But aren't they glad that I didn't have to make that information public? Yes. In other cases, we found trying to figure out how to talk about certain things without saying certain things. Medical malpractice. Don't try and cover up mistakes, because if it's a doctor, another doctor is going to spot it in an instant. And if it's electronic, I'm going to spot it in an instant. And then there's going to be a huge settlement. And people are going to be very unhappy on one side of the table. Talked about that one. Okay. So, for us, I can't wonder. It's killing me. It's killing me here. There's huge opportunity here. You can do this job while you do your existing job. You do not have to become an expert. You do not have to go to work for lawyers. You do not have to work for a law firm. You can do this stuff on the side, tack on $40,000 or $50,000 to your annual income with a couple vacation days a year. That's not bad. That's not a bad gig. I mean, it's not like, money's not the root of all evil or anything, but we all want more of it. Think of all the good you could do with that extra money, donating it to the Institute for Justice, Planned Parenthood, whatever thing it is that you want to donate your time and money to. You get more certifications. You do need certifications. They really help. You're going to get them anyways, right? And it's not like it's hard to get certs. It's easy. That's why we have so many. Except for those SANS Gold certs. They're kind of a pain. Mostly because of that $5,000 price tag. Anybody can get me free SANS? I'm all ears. I'll trade. It's a great resume feature. If you can deal with courts and laws and legal systems and present in courts or testify, hold up under camera, interview, that's a fantastic resume feature. Certain employers will look at that as if it's a gold star, because they understand what it takes to do that kind of stuff. You can't just roll in there and be an expert witness. You're going to get grilled by another lawyer. We do that kind of stuff on the internet all the time, though, to each other. It's just a different forum. So think of it as getting hazed or trolled. Trolling lawyers is another art form. It's a great public service because, like I said, there's people getting the shaft right now, and it's not cool. It's a great illustrator of your communications. It will help you improve your communications. You have to have good writing skills. You have to develop your good writing skills. You don't have to have them initially. The lawyers will take care of that. Your speaking skills, all of that. It's just another way to polish your presence professionally. It's a great indicator of assurance of abilities for employers, because if you hang your shingle out there as an expert, and you're not an expert, you're going to get shut down really fast. It's like logging onto Reddit and making a statement that's not supported by the facts. You're going to get corrected. So as an employer, if you're doing this kind of stuff on a regular basis, I can be assured that, yes, you do actually know how router tables work, or you do actually know how firewalls work. Broadens your horizons, introduces you to other people, gets you to travel. I only do CONUS work. I have friends that do international law work. Free travel, scarce. There's a scarcity. Wherever there's scarcity, there's opportunity. And as I said earlier, it's never going to go away no matter how much automation we throw at this stuff, because somebody's always got to explain the technology to somebody else or something else. Bad experts, we touched on this already. Don't be one. Don't hire one. Again, there's a section here for lawyers. Don't let them hire bad ones. I do get called in, as I said, to fix cases occasionally. Dead hard drives that weren't dead, that was a fun one. The lawsuit had a RAID array that was involved in it. They had trashed the RAID array. This is, of course, it was unrecoverable. They sent it to one of those 1-800-recover your data things or something like that. And they took one look at it and went, yeah, no, you can't recover anything. So about a year goes by in this case, and we get the drives, and whoa, lo and behold, one of them is completely recoverable, one of them is partially recoverable, and one of them is fragment recoverable. But it's a RAID array. So we ended up getting all of the data back. And here's where it gets fun. This was an internet provider, a hosting service. So they sent us this array with medical data on it that wasn't encrypted. There were 9 other customers on there, 2 of which were medical and weren't encrypted. So I'm not saying they broke the law, but that was do we tell them? I gave it back to the lawyer and I said, you need to know this stuff's on here. You should probably tell someone or sue somebody. Call them up and say you can sue them. You get fun stuff. Forensics is the best. Good experts. I got a picture of Adrian in here. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? We need more experts. Any technology can be a foundation for expertise. I don't care if your specialty is wheel systems in children's toys. There's a market for it someplace. You're probably going to travel to New York and California, places that have important law firms, not Allentown, Pennsylvania. But there's a market for any technology law at any level. Depending on how much you want to work, you've got that ability. There's no lawyers. If you need an expert and you don't hire one, you're hurting your case in more ways than one. Like I said, it's not just what you think you know, it's what you don't know that you don't know. And it can really kill your case. If you do this kind of stuff, put it up on LinkedIn so that we can find you, because that's the best place to go right now. There are expert legal sites that will list you as an expert. I looked at one of them. There were 5 people listed as technology experts. They were all 5 incompetent bozos. How do I know? We know. You can look at their resume and you're like, oh yeah, no. And these guys are getting work and representing people, and we don't want that. We want quality people doing it, like y'all. So stick it on LinkedIn and we'll find you. Did I cover that one? Oh, can you read the bottom? I want to be a Rick and Morty expert. Yeah. People in the back are like, what? I didn't lay this room out. It's a Rick and Morty expert. You could be a Rick and Morty expert. It could work. Questions, discussion. That's not too bad considering we didn't go into the lawyer stuff. Anyone? Yes, I have done one, and that's when I found out how much I don't know about cloud and stuff and how fast it changes. I thought I knew AWS. It changed. So I went and got somebody else that knew what they were doing. Subcontracting is huge in our business. Telemetry off the systems? Sorry, say it again? I don't do malware. Not like that. We have done the one case that we did that involved AWS. They were using an application called Teddy Bear to tunnel in, which was a Russian-developed VPN piece of software. But they were tunneling into a Mac, the same one that the FBI agent destroyed. Thankfully, the Teddy Bear logs were not erased when the OS booted up, and we were able to get them via that. But that's sort of not what you're talking about. Okay, yeah. Sounds like you have an opportunity. Anyone else?
So if you're working as an expert, as a friend of the court, how does your information get presented and who does the cross? Do both sides do the cross?
Well, since I haven't seen it yet, I'm not entirely sure. But my guess would be that the information is just there for both sides to use. And if they want to dispute it, I mean, what we do is present facts. It's really hard to dispute facts. Look, here's a log. This is your IP address. This is where your hosting provider says that, yes, that's actually your IP address on that day and time. That's you. That's hard to dispute that kind of stuff. So I would think it would go over pretty well. The big thing would be like, who's paying for it? They'd have to figure that out. My guess is when the court, they do friend of the court right now, and I think both parties contribute to it, or whoever ends up paying the legal fees at the end pays your bill. But I don't think there'd be any dispute because it's just facts. They like to argue in the big money cases about facts, but we stand over here on the sidelines looking at it going, are you people idiots? That's a fact. It's not something that's open for dispute. I'll give you a great example of why we need more of this stuff in our business, though. Who here remembers Casey Anthony? Who here remembers Firefox and how screwed up that case was? Because they had an expert that was a bozo, and that person got off fairly scot-free. Could have gone a whole different direction. Any other? Go forth an expert.